So we finally got our hands on this brand new Sony lens, the Sony FE 300mm f2.8 GM. And we went out and we did some shots and did some video.
Yeah, and just a spoiler alert, it's pretty damn good. No surprises there, pretty amazing lens. But we're going to talk to you guys about it anyway, tell you how good it is, what we think of it, and more specifically, whether you should buy one.
So the first thing that I noticed when Matt handed me this lens is how light it is. Obviously also quite a sort of a small profile for these big fixed zoom lenses, but it is just under 1.5 kilograms and it is great and light to handle in the hand.
Yeah, it's a phenomenally compact lens. It is apparently the lightest 300mm f2.8 ever produced. And in terms of the optics inside of this unit, you've got 20 elements in 16 groups. You've got an 11-bladed aperture diaphragm in there as well. You see some really nice circular bokeh on it. I'll show you some images that display that. There's obviously all sorts of other XD elements in here, coatings, a spherical glass, all of that kind of thing to give you the optical quality that you expect out of a 300mm 2.8 in Sony's G Master range. And yeah, I mean, there's not really anything negative optically about this unit.
Even though it is so light, they did not sacrifice anything on the build quality. It's still that G Master build, weather seal and all the good stuff. And even, the lens, it has got a really nice sort of good quality feel to it.
Yeah. So in terms of the construction on the unit, obviously you have all the standard stuff here. You have your tripod collar connector, you have a 40.5mm drop-in filter at the back. So a bit of a weird size, but nice to see it nonetheless. You have all of your standard control operations over here. So your autofocus manual, your DMF, which is to do with manual focus. Obviously your focus limiter, your optical image stabilization, and then your modes for that stabilization. Stepping it to the front, manual focus ring over here, that quick assignment ring that they've got on pretty much everything, and then your, custom buttons all over it. Nice and compact, everything's easy to reach from a single point hold. Very, very nice bold lens, but nothing new. Everything that we expect from a G Master.
Now in terms of performance, like you said in the beginning of this video, these sort of premium fixed lenses are generally sort of the top of the food chain. There's nothing sharper, nothing better than this. And obviously that also reflects in the price. These are not sort of cheap, affordable lenses. So when you are buying something like this, in terms of optical sharpness, chromatic aberration, lens flare, and all that jazz, this will have you covered and it will give you the sharpest image out of the box.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the images that we're throwing up on screen, it is ridiculously sharp. It's become so cliche, but it is another really good lens in a world where there is almost no such thing as a bad lens anymore. The sharpness is incredible, the color reproduction is phenomenal, the contrast that you get out of it is excellent. Even when we were shooting earlier today, bright sunlit conditions on a basketball court, I mean, it is so good. The fall off that you get in your out of focus areas is excellent. It is just a good lens. Obviously it works perfectly with Sony's new AI autofocus system. We had it on both a Sony Alpha 1 and an A7R5. And I mean, the autofocus is excellent. It's sharp, it locks on like a beast. It's a good lens, and I mean, it's exactly what you're gonna get when you buy a 300 2.8. You're not expecting it to be bad. It's absolutely phenomenal. It is precisely what it should be at the price point, the focal length that it is, and it being a G Master lens. No two ways around it.
Yeah, in terms of the autofocus performance, like you said, it is so snappy. These cameras are so powerful, especially with the AI chip. It was so nice shooting and locking onto people's faces, and also the camera sort of knowing which is the player that you're kind of focusing on.
Yeah.
Now, off camera, you did mention something to us, and that was that you find that 300mm is a little bit of a weird focal length for you. And I actually think for some people that will be the opposite, as with a 300mm shooting at f2.8, you can snap on a 1.4 extender and a 2x extender, still have a decent aperture, and then you have a IE 600mm lens. And if you are shooting on Sony sort of higher end bodies, you know, your autofocus won't be affected at all. And then you kind of have a really cool lens like a 600mm and a 300mm 2.8. So that's quite a cool thing about this lens, I think.
I 100% agree with you there, but I'm going to throw it into the other direction. So if you take a lens like this, it always seems to me like you could have gone 400 2.8. Because 300 is a little bit too short for me. And I understand a 300 2.8 comes in at a much lower price point generally than a 400 2.8, and I fully understand why. For me though, the 300 2.8 gets me thinking that I could rather have a 70 to 200 2.8. And to your point, being on a high-end body, if I'm on a Sony body shooting at 60 megapixels, a little bit of a crop in gets me to that 300 2.8 on a 70 to 200. And then I have a lens that's more versatile. The other thing that gets me a little bit about this lens is that in my mind, where I would use a lens like this is probably indoor sports, you know, where lighting isn't great. I need that 2.8. I want something that's relatively short, relatively compact that I can move around with. And 300 feels a little bit too long for that. I find myself gravitating to a 70 to 200. Or, if we jump brands, there is another brand out there that has a 100 to 300 2.8. And I think that's a more adventurous lens to go for. And I almost feel like Sony played it a little bit safe going for a 300 2.8 on this unit.
Yeah, I guess what they were thinking when they looked at this is to design the lightest and sort of a small 300mm 2.8. Maybe you have that guy that's traveling with limited backpack space, and this is so small, you know, compared to like a big 400 2.8. And I think that's where this maybe slots good into.
Yeah, look, I mean, in terms of what it is and what it is designed to be, it's incredible. There's no two ways around it. We've covered the optical quality and the autofocus performance and all of that things related to it. It's a phenomenal lens for what it is. I just feel like in a world where other manufacturers are being a little bit more adventurous with their optics, I just think Sony's playing it a little bit safe. Incredible as it is, sharpness off the scales, incredible lens. Just a little bit safe for my taste.
Now this is going to be quite a short video, as with these premium top of the line fixed lenses, there isn't really much bad things that you can say about it. The optical performance, everything is just great, and yeah, we had fun shooting with it.
Yeah, I mean, and you take everything about this lens, there is literally nothing negative, and the only negative I could come up in my mind is that it's a little bit boring just being a 300 2.8. And I mean, I think that kind of speaks to the world that we're living in these days, when we look at a 300 2.8 insanely good G Master lens from a company like Sony, and we go, that's good. Because everything is so good these days, you know? And these lenses kind of, it's that little crust, like right at the top, that just puts it completely over the edge. And yes, this lens absolutely fills that brief. It is that top end of quality. It is the lens that you're going to buy to go onto your Alpha 1, or you know, maybe the Alpha 2 or 1 Mark II when it, you know, releases next year probably. That's exactly what this kind of thing is for, you know. You're gonna use this when you're shooting indoor sports or cycling or Formula 1 or whatever it is, where you can get relatively close and you need something small and you can travel with it and all of those things. It's so good. We couldn't get any aberrations out of this lens. No ghosting, no flaring, no purple fringing. It's so good. It's a 300 2.8 G Master. It's one of the best lenses they've ever made. It's phenomenal.